This is episode number 12 of the Upgrade Your Life podcast, and our episode is how to develop self-awareness to succeed as a leader. My guest specializes in leadership training and comes to you with a wealth of knowledge. You're going to learn not just self-awareness, but we also dive into how to lead your people and how to engage those that you lead. Stay tuned. So the big question is, how do ambitious people like us, who grew up listening to the old advice of go to school, work hard for 40 years, and retire when you're old, create a life today that is meaningful, abundant, healthy, and brings joy, while also leading a life that is productive and full of achievement? That is the question, and this is the podcast that will help give you the answers that you're searching for. My name is Del Denny, and welcome to the Upgrade Your Life podcast. Welcome to the Upgrade Your Life podcast. My name is Del Denny. We have a special guest on the show today. We have Chris Cebollero. Chris is an EMS leader and internationally recognized leadership specialist, best-selling author, coach, and motivational lecturer. His dynamic and energetic speaking style has entertained, motivated, and educated individual groups and teams for over 25 years. Chris is currently the senior partner of his own consulting firm specializing in leadership development, individual and executive coaching, and organizational process improvement. Chris has been seen on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. He is a certified member of the John Maxwell Team and is an official member of the Forbes Coaches Council. Chris has spent 30 years in the emergency medical services career field and continues to be an advocate for delivering the best care possible. Chris, welcome to the Upgrade Your Life podcast.
I got to tell you, I am so excited, Del, to be here. Since we've scheduled this, I just couldn't wait to bring some excitement to your tribe and to kind of talk a little bit about our topic today. And I got to tell you, thank you very much for inviting me, and I promise to give you the very best I got.
I love it. And I'm very excited to pick your brain. That our topic today is self-awareness and really leadership, for that matter. As everybody knows on our podcast, I love the topic of leadership. Chris, you're a leadership expert, or let's say specialist, right? I don't think any of us are necessarily experts, right? But you specialize in leadership. Tell me about yourself and how you got to this point.
You know, as you mentioned, I was in the EMS field for a lot of years, and I tried to become the very best paramedic I could be. And, when a mother hands you a 3-month-old that's in cardiac arrest, that's not the time to figure out you're not comfortable in that situation. So I had to study, and I had to read, and I had to research, and then I started to teach. And then as I started to gain more expertise in my career, now I became a supervisor and a manager, and then eventually I was an EMS chief. So I had to change my focus from being the best clinician I could be to now being the best leader I can be. And I got to tell you, Del, when I first started off as a leader, I was probably as horrible can be. I wasn't very much into service. I was more of pointing my finger and belittling the workforce, and I had to learn from my mistakes. And as I became now a student of leadership, it really kind of taught me the science. And I've said for a lot of years, leadership is both an art and a science. And if you don't understand the science, you'll never paint the portrait of organizational success. And now as I've grown in my career and over the past 3 decades of being a field provider and being a leader, and now being a consultant that helps organizations achieve excellence, I got to tell you, it's very, very exciting. And, leadership is a science, and you put a little bit of this in here, you got a little bit of communication, you got a little bit of conflict resolution, and then what comes out at the end is a great organization, awesome engagement, awesome workforce satisfaction, productivity is high, and more importantly, they're delivering excellence to the customers and clients that you serve.
Absolutely. You think about, I like that analogy, put a little bit of this, a little bit of that in there. You got leadership, we're baking a cake, put a little flour, a little bit of salt. And so the topic today that we're going to talk about is self-awareness, that little pinch of self-awareness. Why is self-awareness important when it comes to leadership?
I got to tell you, man, I think that self-awareness is the most important attribute that a leader needs to have. It makes no difference if you're good in communication. It makes no difference if you're good in conflict resolution. It makes no difference if you know how to do a line item budget. If you don't understand who you are as a leader, if you don't understand why you react to the things that you do the way that you do, it doesn't make a difference how good you are in all those other things. You now lose your leadership effectiveness. So when we talk about the benefits of self-awareness, this is going to give you the overall understanding of who you are as a person, as to why you think the way that you think, why you react the way that you react, why you do the things that you do. And we talk about the components of emotional intelligence. Self-awareness is right there at the top. And these are things that you're able to control. When we talk about things like developing better relationships, understanding our moods. I mean, how many times have we gone into work and, we've got cut off a couple of times. We spilled a little coffee on our pants. Your wife won't stop that breathing in and out all the time. And you just, you get to work and you're just in a bad mood, but yet you walk through the door with a smile on your face. And but you got to be able to understand where are all these things coming from, and how you're going through your day, and what it means when you have these feelings that may be negative, or that negative self-talk. It improves your mood when you understand who you are. It gives you the opportunity to create, to have good, clear thinking and to make better decisions. In my book, Ultimate Leadership, 10 Rules for Success, rule number 1 is never allow your emotions to dictate your actions. How do you think I learned that one, Del? I allowed my emotions to dictate my actions. It makes you a more effective communicator. You increase your own productivity. And now you become somebody who's able to motivate and inspire people because they want to emulate. And because you have that understanding of who you are as a person, and people want to have that too.
So if I were to want to develop better self-awareness, and I think this is that a trait that can be learned, self-awareness? I think people think they know what self-awareness is, but if I wanted to be better at self-awareness, what could I do?
Yeah, and I think before you get there, you really kind of have to understand the process of self-awareness, right? And what does that actually mean? I mean, what's the definition of self-awareness when we think about what it is? You have to be able to look at who you are as a person. You have to be able to look at the patterns that you go through. Why do I react the way that I do? I mean, is that one person that when you see them coming down, you're just like, oh my God, I hope I can close my door quick enough so they don't see that I'm here. Why do you react that way? I wrote an article for Forbes that was called Anatomy of a Thought. And basically, there was somebody that I was dealing with, and I just, they weren't my favorite person in the world. And I remember sitting down in my comfy chair, and I said, why don't I like this person? And I took myself through the thought process as to, okay, I'm sitting here on the side of why I don't like this person. But why don't I like them? Then I talked about their characters, and I took myself through this thought process until I finally got down to 10 or so different layers that I finally said, I don't like this person because they insulted me one time and embarrassed me in front of a group of people, and I've never gotten over it. And so when we think about this from a self-awareness standpoint, what is it that makes you who you are? What is it that makes you think the things you do? We talk about this from the standpoint of even growth. So we make a mistake, we have reflection about that mistake, and then that creates the wisdom. So if we can sit back and kind of reflect on who we are and to why we react the way that we do and to why we're the person that we are, that gives us that best opportunity. Now, once you understand what self-awareness is, this gives you the opportunity now to create a pattern or to create a process to develop better self-awareness. One of the things that I did, Del, that very early on, because I got to tell you, I mean, I grew up in New York City. I was in the military. I got to tell you, man, I had a little bit of an ego. I had a little bit of an attitude problem when I was a younger guy. And I know it's hard to believe. I hear you snickering. But really, the way that it worked out for me was I didn't think I had an attitude at all. I didn't think I had a problem at all. And it wasn't until I was able to sit down and really kind of identify who I was as a person. Now we're talking about the early 30s. I didn't think I had an issue at all. But you know what really helped me to develop? The first thing that I did, and this came from somebody who I considered to be a mentor in my younger years, they told me to keep a journal about everything that caused an emotional response. So if somebody irritated me, I would go write it in my journal as to why they irritated me. If somebody made me happy, I would go write it in my journal as to why it made me happy. And then over the course of months, I was able to go back and I started to see the patterns into why I was reacting the way that I did. I was allowing my emotions to dictate my actions. It's funny, Dale, I've got a daughter who's 24 years old, and I've been married and divorced, and she lives with her mom. And she'll call me and say, Dad, Mom's making me mad. And I'm like, well, who you telling? That's why I'm not with her anymore. I know exactly what you're talking about, right? And I said, well, let me tell you something. Your mom doesn't make you mad. You allow what your mom does to make you mad. Why is that? And I can't get her at this young age to see that process yet, that she's not getting mad because her mom is doing, she's allowing what her mom is doing to make her mad. And I try to get her to understand, no one can make you feel anything that you choose not to feel. I mean, that's the basis for psychology, right? I mean, when you sit on the couch and when you pay that big money per hour, that's what they're going to teach you, is no one can make you feel anything you choose not to feel. And I want her to see, what is it that she's doing that's making you upset, but why does it make you upset? And I think that that's the secret. So can you develop self-awareness? You sure can, but it comes with good reflection.
I love that. That are ultimately, I mean, feelings is ultimately what we're going for. We want to feel great. You know, why do we buy this thing? To feel good. Why do we, you know, go to this concert just to feel great? And then on the negative side too, it's, you know, we're having all these negative emotions. Well, why causes that? What's the deep layer? I love that thought process of it, because we can change our feelings, and that's where that self-awareness comes in. Tell me a little bit more about self-awareness. Okay, so we develop self-awareness. We're aware of those feelings, but why is that important for leadership? How does that apply to being a leader?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the definition of leadership, you know, and John Maxwell, who's my friend and mentor, teaches us that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. If we can't influence people, we can't lead people. If we're somebody who allows our emotions to dictate our actions, if we're somebody who reacts with a negative, voice or a negative tone, if we're somebody who's not inspiring, not motivating, I mean, who are we really going to inspire? And who are we really going to influence? Really nobody. So when you think about the importance of when you think about importance of self-awareness, it now comes to the point of saying, people, I want to be able to inspire them. I want to be able to motivate them. I want to be able to influence them. And the best way for me to do that is to be the best person that I can be. I need to be a good role model. I need to be a good mentor. I want to be able to be a person that when people are around me, they feel better about themselves, that I value them, that I add value to them, that I make them feel like that anything is possible. Well, if I'm that guy who listens to my negative self-talk and who's one to yell at the workforce and point a finger and not give attaboy, who's going to want to hang out with me? So the biggest thing that you can do when it comes to leadership is to be someone that you wanted to be when you were a kid, somebody who would inspire people, someone who would motivate people, someone, you know, you wanted to be friends with. And it sounds a little contrite, but it really is a good recipe for success.
What challenges do you see when you're coaching and you're working with people trying to build up their leadership qualities and, you know, building up self-awareness and emotional intelligence? What challenges do people face early on?
Yeah, they can't get out of their own heads. I mean, it's all about what they're doing to themselves, and all that negative self-talk. You know, I'm a failure. I'm not a good businessman. My workforce isn't engaged. The biggest thing that I try to do is make them understand that they're sabotaging their own success with the negative self-talk. I mean, you got to remember, I mean, that voice you hear in your head sometimes isn't your friend. And if I could find out the address of where that guy lives, I'd do a drive-by. But what I got to remember is that's my voice. I put those thoughts in my head because of I've imprinted negativity on my subconscious mind. And it's my subconscious mind who's coming out because of habit to say, oh, you can't do that. You've never been successful at that. Or, you're not going to be a good business leader. You don't have the talent for that. What? You want to lose weight? You said you're not going to lose weight. You might as well eat that pizza. So we've got to be able now to put ourselves in a position to reprogram our subconscious mind. And as a coach, you know, people think that coaching is really about how to be a better leader. I really try to talk about being a better person. And if we can end that negative self-talk and we can put ourselves on a path of, you know, success, I think that that gives us the best opportunity. You know, again, my rule number 2 now, I gave you rule number 1. Rule number 2, don't waste time and energy on things you can't control. How many of us have sat there and said, play the what if game? What if this happens? And then what if that happens? And then what if how many times, Del, have you gone through the what if monster, you know, decision tree, and nothing has ever happened, that you've wasted so much time on the what if game and that what if never happened? What if you put that into something positive? How much more successful would you be? And that's the kind of things that I run into with folks, that I try to help them reprogram their subconscious mind and set a positive direction for success and move themselves to a point where they can achieve anything they want.
That's why leadership is so important. Everything rises and falls in leadership, as John Maxwell says. I'm such a fan of John Maxwell. While I have you with us, we've also talked about off this call, we were talking one-on-one, and we were talking about employee engagement. And some people on this call, on our podcast, they're entrepreneurs. They have employees or they manage employees. And there's an interesting thought process is, you know, how do we help employee engagement? How do we help our employees, those that we serve? What's your 2 cents on that?
You know, I think you hit the nail right on the head. First off, you've got to be able to change your mentality. What's the true definition of leadership success? Is it the fact that I can manage a budget? Is the fact that I can book a conference room? Is it the fact that I have good communication skills? The true measurement of leadership success is how engaged, satisfied, and productive your workforce is. So if we now know that we have to be able to engage, ensure our workforce is satisfied and productive for our success, we have to be able to focus on that, right? If we go to the Gallup organization, the Gallup is the preeminent expert when it comes to all thing employee engagement. They will say that 86% of the workforce globally is either disengaged or actively disengaged, meaning that they go through the motions if they're disengaged, and they try to sabotage the organization if they're actively disengaged. Now, how can a leader, where the ultimate measurement of leadership success is how engaged, satisfied, and productive their workforce is, ever think about being successful with 86% of the workforce being either disengaged or actively disengaged? So we've got to be able to find a way to engage our workforce, to make them satisfied, and to increase their productivity. And the way that we need to do that is to remember, they don't work for us. We work for them. Our job is to get the very best out of the workforce. We invited these people into our organization to help us be successful. We put an ad in the paper. We went to a job board. We went ahead and found a headhunter to move these people into our organizations. We sat across the table from them. We asked them questions. Maybe we gave them a leadership assessment. And we said, you know what? I see something in you that I think that you're going to be great for my organization. Del, we bring them in and we sit them in the corner and say, now, if you have a question, raise your hand. How are they going to help you be successful if you're not helping them be successful? If you're not investing in their professional development? If you're not helping them reach their goals? They come to us with a specific set of skills, with a specific set of knowledge. It's our job to help them grow their knowledge. It's our job to help them grow their skills. Because when we invest in them and help them grow, they're going to help our organization grow. And when it comes to employee engagement, we have to be able to understand who our workforce is. We have to be able to help them buy into the vision of the organization. The vision statement is the most important document you have in your organization. And we've got to be able to make sure that we've got a vision. We've got to make sure that everybody understands what their role is into reaching the vision. And we've got to be be able to measure that for the workforce. You want to engage them. You want to invite them to the table. You want to ask them questions. You know, I talked about the vision statement. I'm on a tangent. I'm on a soapbox now, Dal. So step back a little bit.
Preach, my man. Preach.
All right. So here we go. So, you know, I love to ask, you know, the members who are in the audience, you know, how many people here have a vision statement? You see with pride how many people raise their hand. And then the next one really kind of chills them when I say, who can come up here and recite it for me? Well, nobody. Everybody's hand goes down. And if the leaders of the organization don't know what the vision of the organization is, why does the workforce need to know what the vision is? And I told you that the vision statement is the most important document in the organization. Let me tell you why. If I ask you to think about a car, or if I ask you to think about a door, you don't see the letters CAR or the letters DOOR. You actually picture a car. You actually picture a door. We are wired to think in pictures. And in the absence of a picture, or in the absence of a vision, we don't know what to picture. So it's important for your people to come into the organization and know what the vision of the organization is. When I was a chief of the ambulance service, I got there and I said, what's the vision of this organization? And they said, well, we relocate the sick and injured. Oh, that's a good vision. But so I said, let's develop a vision. So if you're one of those organizations that don't know your vision statement, go to the book, pull it out, tear it up, get your leaders to the table, get members of the workforce to the table, and now ask them to develop a new vision and then build a campaign around it, put it on badges, put it on posters. And, you know, in this agency that I was just talking about, we finally came to the point of saying that, you know, we wanted to deliver the highest quality of patient care, be leaders in our community, role models for our career field, with a lot of flowery words around those goals, right? And everything that we did was we stepped towards the vision every day. How are we going to deliver the highest quality of patient care? How are we going to be leaders in our community? How are we going to be role models for our career field? But then I made sure that everybody knew their responsibility in reaching the vision. I engaged them into the vision to say, you're responsible for helping us be successful. Well, just because I have this office, does that mean it's my responsibility for us to be successful? I hold the rudder. I know the direction we're going. The workforce is the wind in the sail to get us there. In the absence of engaging them, we're never going to get there. It's the vision of the organization that we build a strategy around to get there. And then it's the culture of the organization that powers that boat to get us to reach that vision. So we need to engage them. We need to make sure they're satisfied and productive. Here's the secret sauce, Del. You ready? I'm going to give it to you right now.
Lay it on me.
If you want to have a successful organization, treat your workforce like they're your clients and customers, and then watch how they treat your clients and customers. It's the moment of truth. When your members of your workforce stand in front of your clients and customers to deliver them service. What kind of service are they delivering if Gallup tells us that 86% globally is either disengaged or actively disengaged? Are you trusting your workforce to meet your clients and customers with that percentage of disengagement? I think we need to reevaluate that.
I think you're right. I think that helped me out a lot in my leadership. At one point, I led an organization of over 50 team members, and my secret sauce was I realized that they were not there to serve me. I was there to serve them. And I put all my work in the training and helping and caring and making sure they felt significant and they felt uplifted and they felt trained and they felt cared for. And the numbers and the metrics went through the roof. They treated the customers with such respect, and all these different goals were met. And I agree with you. That is the best thing you do is serve your people. So I've got a question for you. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm ready.
No, after you.
Ready to answer it. I was going to touch base with exactly what you said. I mean, it's all about service. We need to be able to understand why we do the things that we do. And it's our job that we are able to polish that workforce. And if you're not ready to serve, you're not ready to be a leader. You're not going to be successful as a leader.
Absolutely. That is, service is everything. Whether you're serving the people that you lead or whether it's your clients, Service is the secret sauce for me and my business. That is for sure. Got a question for you. I ask every single one of our guests on the show this question, and it's kind of a reflection question, if you will, and it goes like this. If you could turn back time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give yourself for reaching your full potential?
It's funny. It's funny you said that. My book just came out in October of 2019, Dear Younger Self, My Advice to You. And the premise of it was that we went back in time. We got a time machine from Stewie Griffin, and we went back in time. We met our 25-year-old self, and what advice do we have? And I got 10 or 12 of my peers around the United States to each take a chapter and give their personal advice. So I really love the question. And I'm going to give you the answer as the same chapter I wrote in the book was, you're not as important as you think you are. And one of the things that you need to realize is that, you haven't done anything at 18 years old. You haven't done anything at 20 years old. You haven't done anything at 25 years old to think you're as important as you are. And you need to be able to check your ego at the door. And you need to be able to listen. The Dalai Lama's got a great quote. When we speak, we're only repeating what we already know. But when we listen, we may learn something new. It's all about keeping your mouth closed and your ears open to gain as much knowledge as you can. So now you're able to navigate your way through, the world. And I got to tell you, man, I mean, for a lot of years, I allowed that New York ego, that military ego to take me around the world and to probably make decisions that I shouldn't make. So that would be my advice to my younger self.
That is some really good advice right there. I think that ego, that's definitely one that we all have to check out the door. I would definitely give my 18-year-old self that advice too. Chris, you are a wealth of knowledge. I've learned a lot about self-awareness and employee engagement and just service and leadership. Where can our listeners find more about you?
Well, I've got tons of ways. You can go on Facebook, Cebollero Associates. I'm on LinkedIn. My website, www.chriscebollero.com. If you want to reach me, here's my personal cell phone number, 314-297-6850. I'm also the host of the Ultimate Leadership Podcast. Come on over and listen to a couple of the shows. Dell, you got to promise me that you're going to come on my show, that we're able to get a little bit of your expertise out to my tribe. And but that's basically it, man. I mean, but we're all students of leadership. We just got to be able to do the best that we can to get to the next day and influence the people that we come in contact with.
Beautiful. I will make that commitment. I look forward to being on your podcast as well. Well, Chris, thanks for coming on the Upgrade Your Life podcast. This was a great session together. And thanks for coming on.
I got to tell you, man, anytime you want me, I'm going to be here. And I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed listening to your show. And I look forward to future episodes.
Beautiful. Thank you, Chris. There you go. That was a great interview with Chris. And again, if you want to reach out to Chris, I'll add his information to the show notes. If you've enjoyed this interview, I'd ask if you could leave us a review. Those reviews help us grow this podcast, and we appreciate it. Well, that's it, my friends. Remember, learn, lead, and live to your full potential.